program out at Essendon Football Club. I heard there was a speaker, so I thought, oh, this will be good, this will be interesting. We're having a good time as it was, and Maria came in and she just opened up both barrels and away she went. I thought, whoa, this is great. He's actually someone speaking their mind, being very open and honest. You know, you could see people actually getting a little bit offended and squirming in their seats. And I thought, this is good stuff. But what it did was it opened up a tremendous discussion about the perceptions we have about leadership, the perceptions about, you know, what we should be saying and doing, etc. And what really is a leader. So, just a little bit of background on Maria. She's the Executive Chairman of Ticketmaster Australia and is acknowledged as the entertainment industry leader. She immigrated from Ireland back in the 80s and commenced her involvement in the entertainment ticketing in what was then a fledgling business in a new industry. For 30 years she had played an integral part in establishing ticketing as a viable industry and led the business to confirm Ticketmaster as the foremost ticketing agency in Australia. She's the Vice President of Live Performance Australia, the peak body for Australia's live entertainment and performing arts industry. She's also a board member of Big Brothers, Big Sisters of Australia, which is Australia's leading mentoring program for young people. And I think that's what really caught me about this lady, is not only has she got this absolute honesty and openness, but she's also got a very big heart. And so can we just give Maria a warm Melbourne welcome, please?
Thank you, Wayne, for those kind words. There's an old Irish saying that if you get the name for being an early riser, you can sleep all day. And that is pretty much what I've done through my career, is that I have the reputation for always telling it the way it is. So even when I'm not strictly doing that, people believe me. So remember that in future when you're trying to convince someone of something. As Wayne said, I emigrated as a 20-year-old from a place called Ardoyne in North Belfast in the middle of the 1980s, which was, I suppose, would be a bit like Gaza is today. It was, I'm a Catholic, in an enclave surrounded by unionists, British soldiers, police state, no rights. I went to school at a convent taught by Dominican sisters on the Falls Road, which is also another infamous trouble spot of Northern Ireland's troubles. And each day I got on a bus in my convict uniform and went through 3 Protestant areas to get beaten up on the way. And I did it every day, and we all did it every day, because the option was not to go to school and not get an education. So the nuns used to tell us that instead of planting bombs and taking guns and shooting soldiers or Protestants, get a good education, get a good job, and get rid of them that way. So they turned 2,000 young Catholic girls into zealots about being strong, facing your fears, facing your enemies. And I have to say, it was a unique upbringing, but I'm very, very pleased that that was my background, because I don't think I would be the person that I am today without going through that adversity. I remember there was 4 of us, 4 children in the family. I'm the oldest. And we would go to bed every night, and we had a plan that if gunmen kicked in the front door to kill Dad, we all had a job to do. My job was to break the windows and make as much noise as possible. My brothers were to throw things down the stairs. I know it sounds incredulous now, but our next door neighbours were shot. 2 girls, 1 4 and 1 16, in their beds. So it was something that we thought about every day. So when I first came to Australia, I used to get the train from the city to Dandenong at 10 o'clock at night on my own. And I couldn't understand why my colleagues would say, but that's dangerous. Dangerous? I would defy anybody to cross me in those days. The accent usually was enough to put people off. So I am the barometer, and most of you who are leaders in your organisation will realise that you are the barometer of how your people feel and the culture and how you act is more important than anything you will ever say to them. And that is the mark of a true leader. The other thing I realized that is leadership is innate. You can't learn leadership. You are born a leader or you're not. And one of the things I find frustrating about education is that most people that I know who have more and more education, diplomas, training, have absolutely no talent. They just keep getting more qualifications, which they think is making up for the things that they lack in their personality and in their style. And when I tell them, I sort of get offended. It's a bit strange. But so you can, you meet the perpetual students, you want to do the next course, but the actual problem is themselves. How they approach life, how they perceive the world around them. And as I said, is your personality. To me, leadership is about being honest, have integrity, living the message. You can't send out emails telling people that if they're sick they should go home while you're dying at the table because you won't go home. You have to have passion, absolutely have to have passion for what you believe in. And if you don't believe in it, don't do it. You have to be flexible, tenacious, consistent, trustworthy, open. How many people have said, oh, we've got open door policy here, but you can never get anybody to talk to because the door's always closed. And you have to have people skills. You cannot be a leader if you haven't got people skills. And if you haven't got people skills, I'm sorry, because you're not going to find them anywhere, because you have to have them. So you got to realize it. And I think most of you will acknowledge that leaders in your organization are recognized by their traits, not by their title, their office, their status. You all know leaders. They can be at the bottom rung of your company, but you know they're an opinion leader, they're a vetoer, they're someone that when you get them on side makes a difference with everybody else. They're the leaders. You got to recognize them early and try and keep them in the business for as long as you can before someone else takes them away. Being a woman in business, especially 30 years ago, I remember my first meeting with Ian Collins. He goes, "Who the hell are you?" I said, "Who the hell are you?" He wasn't very happy. But I had a big blue. Now he's one of my closest friends. So you have to be yourself. And if you think, what I always think is, well, this is a big bastard. What am I going to do? Oh, I'll just fight with him. I've been bullied by many different people. So I remember going to a board meeting when Richard Pratt was the chair of the Arts Centre, and he was shouting at me, and I said, "Look, when you're finished, I'll continue, but I'm not being bullied." And he just sat down because he didn't know what to say. So you have to just sometimes just face it out. And you know what? If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. So what? What have you lost? I think most people confuse management with leadership. In fact, I was at a lunch just before Easter with some lobbyists from the Liberal Party and lobbyists from the Labour Party, and they gave a boardroom lunch talking about the current situation in Canberra. And the Labour people were saying, but Julia Gillard has got through so much legislation. She's been able to keep the independents and the Greens in tow. She's been able to push through her agenda. And that's the sign of a good leader. I said, no, what you're saying is she's a good manager. She's a good manager of getting things done, but she has lost the Australian people on the journey, so she's not a leader. And I'm really disappointed, as a natural Labour supporter, coming from sort of left-wing family, I'm really disappointed that someone of her background has sort of thrown away the opportunity to lead instead of managing. It's really, really, because what's become now of leadership, and I think it started with John Howard, is you wait and see what the mood is. So, do we want a republic? Well, I don't know if I want a republic or not, but I'll see what everybody else wants. And then I'll lead from behind. I'll come out and make a statement that I know 90% of people are going to agree with, and that makes me a leader. And that's really what's happened with immigration, with asylum seekers, with union, with IR. Let's not lead. Let's not put ourselves out there. God forbid somebody might disagree with us, and we'll wait and get the sense of the people, or we'll get a sense of the Parliament, or we'll get a sense of the party, and then that will be my position. And that is doomed failure from the beginning. And I think the Labour Party are going to spend the next 20 years on the opposition benches because they have not led, even though they had the agenda, and I think they had the goodwill of the people. When they got in, they just threw it away. And if you bring that into your own situation, so if you get a promotion or you change jobs and you throw away that opportunity, that's when it goes forever. You can never get it back. So what is wrong with standing up for what you believe in? When did that become a bad thing? Paul Keating, one of my heroes, used to create controversy by saying things that people didn't agree with. And he knew that they wouldn't agree with him, but he knew that had to be done. Where did it come about that you have to lead by consensus? I'm not sure when it happened, but I think it was during the John Howard year. So that was the change in, you became an elder statesman by always seeming to know the mood of the people. I think that's how they phrased it. He can read the mood of the people. He's supposed to lead the people, not read their mood. And it's the same in business, it's the same in your business. I think that political correctness has absolutely gone way too far in business. You can't even ask someone now how old they are, whether they're married, what they're interested in, before you give them a job. You can't ask them. But you can go on Facebook and see them absolutely pissed, lying in their own vomit. But you know why they ask them how old they are? Look, bullying is a very, I have been in business 30 years, and as you can probably tell, I'm very straight with people. I just tell them exactly the way it is, and I have never once had a complaint of bullying or harassment, and I suspect David doesn't either, because the people you're talking to know that you're telling them from the right way. You're not telling them because it's company policy, you're not telling them to destroy their self-esteem, you're telling them because they're not doing the right thing. And I think it's how you do it that counts, not the rules under which you do it. But I don't work in a big organisation. Well, I do work in a big organisation, but you have to have a relationship with people. If you walk into your room with someone, this is what I was talking about earlier. If you're going to manage people by email and by policy, and then the only real contact they have with you is in a negative, because you're going to tell them they've done something wrong or something hasn't turned out right. They have no context other than it's negative, so you're bullying them because they haven't had the pat in the back, they haven't had how's your mum, they haven't had all the other things that come with it. And I suspect David, in his day, knew the players really well and knew how to get the best out of them. But he wasn't sending them emails from upstairs and then when they had a bad game, going in and shouting at them on a Saturday. And that's what happens today. So a lot of people have no contact. So my advice would be, know the people as best as you can before you do anything. You have to actually know them. I think you misconstrued, I was just having a joke. But you do have to be careful as a professional manager. It's not. I don't see that changing. I think it's going to get worse with privacy and all these other occupational health and safety. It's an excuse to do absolutely nothing. So I can't see it changing unless there's some big test case and it'll change. But I can't see it. It's only going to get worse.
Okay. All right. Look, can we give Maria a hand, please? Thanks. So, look, hopefully things will change. This is a good starting point. You're a good starting point. Many of you do head up organisations, and I think sometimes we've just got to grab the bull by the horns and say, okay, if no one's going to make a difference, I've got to make it. But I think the thing that I picked up mostly, Maria, was, I think we get into trouble because we don't put the energy and the effort into building what I call the emotional bank account. So yeah, we do say something that's critical, and you think it's just okay, but because you haven't built any rapport with that person and you haven't given the pats on the back, and I must say I've surveyed a lot of companies and a lot of teams, recognition just about comes up tops in terms of it being lacking. Not enough recognition. I don't get recognised for who I am, what I do, etc, etc. So I think that's a pretty good starting point, is just make an effort to build up your people skills and to connect with your people. It's not that hard. And look forward to catching up with you soon. Thank you.